Well, welcome to It's an Inside Job BiteSize Fridays, your weekly dose of resilience, optimism, and well-being to get you ready for the weekend. Now, each week, I'll bring you insightful tips and uplifting stories to help you navigate life's challenges and embrace a more positive mindset. And so with that said, let's slip into the stream. Hi, welcome back to another BiteSize Friday. I'm your host, Jason Lim. This week, we're going to jump into the time machine back to a brilliant and wonderful conversation I had with an HR director, global HR director, Kristin Omreng. In this soundbite, we will talk about psychological safety, the importance of communication, specifically feedback loops, and understanding what are some strategies to build resilient teams capable of adapting to changes and challenges. So with that said, let's slip into the stream with my conversation with Kristin Omreng.
In my role, heading up global HR, I focus a lot on leadership development, hand in hand with how this is strengthening and developing our culture as a company, and of course, hand in hand with driving learning and organizational learning. And diversity and appreciation of diversity of thought, different ways of working, different ways of interacting. It's so important in relation to organizational learning and resilience, because we are a company which is very diverse. We have a global footprint with a very large number of different nationalities. I think we're 70 different nationalities across our different locations in PGS at this current time. And just diversity is so many more things than nationality, of course. It's about our upbringing, it's about our education, it's about our nationality, of course, it's about our gender, it's about so many things. But having that true appreciation for diversity of thought and truly including everyone around you in the conversation, including everyone around you in the company happenings and social arenas, it's so important in relation to building organizational resilience. We talk about psychological safety, of course, just like very many other companies do. But that's the end game for us. We want everyone to feel safe and well at work. We want everyone to feel like they can voice their opinions and truly be heard. Heard is not the same as everything you say is actioned on. Of course, that's not the point. The point is that we want everyone to feel safe in relation to expressing their thoughts and perspectives and their approaches and ways of doing things. And the more leaders and teams are able to create this feeling of inclusion, belonging, psychological safety, the more we're able to tap into all the knowledge and all the insights and all the capacity and potential that exists within our teams and organization. And, the more we do this, the more resilient we become, because things are changing faster and faster. There are new challenges thrown out at us all the time. I mean, we can just list all the things that have hit us. I'm talking about the world, everything that's hit us through the world the last few years. It's massive. And as an organization, we, of course, are very focused on creating a culture and teams and leaders that are able to continually increase our resilience. And I feel like it's very impressive to see how our teams and our leaders have responded throughout the last years, because I really do feel we're more and more resilient and more able to adapt to fast-paced change.
I mean, especially when we think, we're well out of the pandemic, many months now outside of the pandemic. But over 2 years, PGS, like a lot of corporations, took a hit. And not all corporations got back up on their feet. They're still kind of crawling on their knees. PGS, in a sense, has got back on its feet. Now, Christine, there's a lot of professionals that listen to this. They may not have a global HR role, but maybe they are team leaders, project heads and such, and they're working with teams, small or large teams, or what have you. If we got a little more specific nuts and bolts, what do you think you and your team at PGS has done to recover from this pandemic? Obviously, diversity, inclusion, psychological safety, but what specifically would recommendations or advice would you give to listeners?
Yeah, there are a number of things I can mention, and I think first of all, you've already referred to the importance of well-being and feeling safe and healthy, connected to your workplace is extremely important. And of course, this was a big focus for us also prior to the pandemic. And we have vessels operating all across the world. So, of course, health and safety are always right front and center for us. But I think we've broadened our perspective quite a bit on how important health, safety, and well-being are for our entire workforce. And throughout the pandemic, we've had a great number of connection points between our CEO and upper management with our global workforce, where we focused quite a bit on the importance of well-being and being compassionate with each other and connecting with each other on all levels, not just the professional level, and making sure that we take that little extra effort to understand how everyone's doing. It's so interconnected, the work life and our private life. And obviously that got a little bit out of balance during the pandemic for all our employees that were working from home. Of course, our employees on the vessels were not working from home. They were on the vessels, but there were quite a few added restraints with quarantines before going on board our vessels, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the takeaway related to understanding how to really appreciate well-being and make sure that it's top of mind for all of our leaders and our teams, that we really do take care of each other and ask how we can help when we see someone maybe is struggling a little bit. But that's just one part of it. Driving learning is something that's really important in relation to building a more resilient organization. And increasing our ability to drive learning among our workforce is something that we've always focused on, but during the last few years, we've tried to be even more precise around what type of learning is important for our organization going forward. And with every strategy update we make in PGS, we also take the time to look at what is that picture of the future competence and capability that our organization needs to stretch towards, and really looking at and pinpointing exactly what type of learning do we need to make sure our employees are offered in order to help our whole workforce develop towards that future organization that we know we're headed towards being. And with all of these fast-moving changes around us in relation to our markets, the energy transition, customers that are both, of course, our legacy oil and gas companies, but also lots of new customers. It's shaping new ways of working, new use of technology, new ways of interacting with customers, new ways of collaborating internally, new ways of applying technology, of course. And just being able to visualize and pinpoint and articulate what are those skills and capabilities that we see that we need as an organization. And also recognizing that a lot of those are softer skills also. It's not just specialist technical skills. There are lots of soft skills that are related to communication, feedback, collaboration, being a good team player, being able to be transparent in new ways and share in new ways, drives organizational learning, which again supports the type of culture we see brings resilience to PGS.
Yeah, so what I hear is, a learning organization is a resilient organization. And learning in this case is it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn, but just as long as we can improve on those mistakes. And it's constantly about a focus on development, improving skills and such. You've been speaking about sort of the entire organization. You're talking about a big global organization, about procedures and structures and putting things into place to allow for a learning organization. Just shift the tangent here, the conversation, Kristin, as you as a leader with your team to create a learning, a team that can adapt based on learning. What are you specifically doing as a manager? Because we speak about soft skills all the time, such as communication, feedback. From my experience, sometimes those soft skills are actually hard skills. When I'm clinical training in psychology, those are some of the hardest skills: asking questions, giving feedback, helping people, listening. For me, they've always been hard skills, and those skills need to be developed. But regardless of what we call it, what do you do as a leader to instill or to encourage a learning organization or learning mindset within your team?
Within my team. I really love how you call it hard skills, by the way, because that really resonates with me. And it is, it's such a fantastic way to frame it, because many people that I know, both within PGS and outside, do still define it as a hard skill, and it is. So in my team, we obviously creating open space for providing that real-time feedback is extremely important in relation to learning and resilience and just being able to adapt. I think another thing is pretty basic, but just making sure that you always allocate time to have that lessons learned retrospective session, really, creating the space to have that open dialogue around what went well, what went less well, what do we want to do differently last time, and getting to the point where that kind of sharing is not pointing fingers. That kind of sharing is just putting the learning on the table so that all of us can take that with us into our next steps, whatever those are. And it takes time to be able to get to a point in a team and as a manager to really, truly offer all of that real feedback, because you're always thinking about that. You don't want to offend anyone, and you don't want someone to feel like you're being too hard on them. And you, of course, always want to recognize all the excellent things that have been delivered and created. But I keep striving to create those open spaces for that true, honest feedback, and making sure that it's delivered with compassion, because obviously, as if anyone feels defensive or gets defensive, the learning shuts down. So we need to make sure that we're always creating those spaces where it's okay that things didn't go perfect. We're there to learn. Things happen along the way. And the most important thing is that we're always providing feedback and learning from those so that we can improve. And, one of the things I really love about agile methods that we apply more and more also in PGS is just making sure that our cycles are shorter, so that we're testing out things, testing them out. Maybe they're not completely perfect yet, but testing them out and bringing them back and learning. And I think that goes hand in hand with being a resilient organization also, because the more you're able to create things fast-paced and test it out and learn from it, that really you can bring that into all types of things. It's not just about technology. It's also about different ways we offer leadership development, or different ways we offer types of learning to our organization. I think I got a little bit off topic, Jason, but
not at all. This is a conversation, so it's very important, because what I hear is that, if you have these tighter feedback loops, it allows for mistakes, but allows for the correction of those mistakes to move forward, but also to learn what we've done well so we can repeat it. So the faster you have these feedback loops, I hear adaptability, because what the bloody pandemic taught us is that we need to adapt or we die. And adaptation is just what any organization or any organism on this planet, you're either growing or you're dying. And having these feedback loops are so important. And it sounds like you create the time and you allocate the time for these feedback loops. If you want more, why not go back and listen to the original full conversation with my guest? You will find the link in the episode in the show notes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll be back next week with my long-form conversational episodes on Monday and the latest BiteSize episode on Friday. And have yourself a relaxing and rejuvenating weekend.